In winter basketball, the shorts and the t-shirts the others were wearing. It is California after all. All right, that is going to be your 11 o'clock news here on your Friday. Thanks so much for joining us here this morning. Really appreciate it. Next up here, Fox 9 All Day, which starts right now. Have a good weekend.
And welcome to All Day Live, everybody. It is high noon. We want to take you right to the state capitol, where Governor Walz is in the middle of a press conference where he is talking about the impacts here in Minnesota of the health care subsidies that have not been extended. Let's listen in.
No capacity for the legislature to fill this hole. It is far too much money. Does that mean we're not trying to think of ways? Absolutely not. I know Senator Bierman's committee has been working on this tirelessly. We are talking about, are there tax credits that we can do here? But the reality is this is the loss of a federal partner, and it's ground that we cannot make up on our own.
True enough. As I was at the Federally Qualified Health Center yesterday, I was very glad we had put substantial money into FQHCs last year. That was a significant boost. They needed that beforehand, though. To be seeing, I'm not sure how long that funding will last for them. As far as this coming year, you know, we are in a tied house, so challenging to get things across the finish line. And at this time, especially even without knowing what else might be coming down the pike from the federal government and what else we're going to have to be trying to alleviate and cover in some way, shape, or form. The implications of H.R. 1 transcend, the state federal health care programs and all the way down to the counties and the cities. And so the funding needs from everyone are great, and they're all going to be coming to the state, and some have already come to me and asked, can we cover this funding gap from the federal government? And it's impossible to say at this point. We have to get into session, but it's also not a budget year, and so it's a policy year. So like every year, we're going to be putting addendums onto our health care, trying to patch this or patch that. But we're also going to be looking at new ways for a healthcare system in Minnesota. And I think that's a big part of the conversation I'm looking forward to having with my colleagues, especially on the other side of the aisle, because we do need significant reforms and change. And so it's going to be an ongoing conversation. Welcome questions.
I would say one on this, because the question is a good one, and that's what we're searching for. But I think Rep. Bierman really hit on this. We're not going to get any help because Republicans are celebrating these moves. They're celebrating the Medicaid cuts. They're celebrating the demise of the ACA. So we could come up, which we have, what they need to do is they need to be talking to their representatives and telling them to vote for the enhanced subsidies and not do the Medicaid cuts. And then that would fix a lot of what we have. But not only are they not going to do that, they are going to celebrate these things happening. And I think that's really important because, again, ample opportunities. We invited them to town halls to come and defend this, to talk about why do you think this is a good idea. And their answer is that they parrot the president and say he hates the ACA. He has no clue how it works, by the way. He has no clue. He doesn't know what a risk corridor is. He doesn't know any of this stuff. It's just that he hates this so that he can rename it. I said we should have just gone ahead and told him to call it Trump Care and keep it the same, and that would have made him happy, because this is just stupid on every front. So it's frustrating to me that you have got real thought leaders in this state. You've got folks that understand how to make this work. My God, we've got a healthcare professional as the leader in the Senate, but what we know is that the counterparts on the other side are not interested.
Let me answer this. If Congress were to act, there has been discussion of some extension of the subsidies looped in with some other things maybe that Republicans want. If they were to do it in January or February, can you talk about how that impacts if open enrollment already is closed and people are already seeing increases, is it retroactive? I don't know if you can speak to any of that, but how it would impact impact if it came after the new year?
Yeah, so we'd have to see exactly what passes, and, you know, assuming it's retroactive to January 1st, we would be able to implement, though a lot of, as you said, our open enrollment period will likely be over by then. Our last day is January 15th. So, you know, we would need to do system updates. We would need to rerun everyone's eligibility to see what they would be eligible for in terms of the new tax credits. And then we would have to, you know, look at all of our options on allowing folks to come back into the system who maybe felt that they were priced out for a special enrollment period. So we have that authority as a state marketplace to be able to open up when there are exceptional circumstances, and this certainly would be one. Our first goal will be to just communicate very clearly and directly with consumers. If the federal government does choose to act, we will let folks know what to do and when to do it so that they're very clear on what their options are.
Open enrollment ends January 15th. They're not going to, people aren't going to see the spikes until that is, you're through that, right? Or do they come January 1st?
So folks are signing up right now with the current law in place, and current law is that those tax credits, those enhanced tax credits, sunset at the end of the year. So when they're signing up for their coverage, they're seeing what their increased costs are that will start when they pay that first month's premium due on January 1st.
Well, thank you all. We'll continue to keep you updated on this this subject. Thank you all for being here. Really grateful. Doug Crumpin, thank you. Take care. Thank you. We'll talk vaccines specifically. All right. Thank you all. Yeah.
Governor, can you, forgive me, I forget what agency it was, but there was a rule that just came down from the federal government about if they don't, you know, hospitals and healthcare providers provide gender-affirming care, that they'll lose Medicaid money.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Have you discussed the impact?
Yeah, the team is, and I will get them here on this. Look, this is one of, I don't want to say the number, it's countless numbers. Every night I get an update on this of the threats to our federal money on everything we do. Because look, right now it's very clear. The entire federal government is weaponized against Minnesota. And the issues of things that should be states' rights, states to control, they're threatening us with this. And this is what happens when you have a floundering presidency and it is about those ballrooms and everything else. Now we're back on transgender folks, and these are healthcare providers providing the best guidance to parents and children to get their care. So we're assessing what it means. It's on every front. It's CDLs, it's transportation money, it's money across the board that they have weaponized. So.
The U.S. Attorney's Office suggested fraud could total as much as $9 million, essentially. Do you guys have any evidence to suggest that?
No. Look, let me say on this, and again, we've said it from the beginning. We've been saying it for years as we've worked on this. If you commit fraud, you should go to prison. We need to figure out, and we've done it over time, and there's still work to be done to prevent it in the front end. It's speculating, and I've said since I've stood up here, we certainly know there'll be more arrests. Because I want to tell you a little bit on how this works yesterday, because there was a press conference. We're grateful. The U.S. Attorney's Office, I'm grateful for them. Their job is to build cases and prosecute folks and then put them in jail. That's what we do. But what they didn't tell you yesterday is that June, I was given the authority to stop payments. The ones that stood up there yesterday and the folks they were talking about on the housing stabilization grants, we stopped payment on them in July and turned the case over to law enforcement to prosecute. They didn't come in here and find that. They didn't come in here and stop payments. They can't do that. But what they didn't tell you is we're partners in this. And they didn't tell you because they don't tell us. And it's been very clear that this is being driven from D.C., and I acknowledge it. Again, you're going to hear this from me. You didn't hear it the other night in a presidential address. This is on my watch. I am accountable for this. And more importantly, I am the one that will fix it. They're not interested in that, so they throw about these numbers. Here's what I think to tell Minnesotans about the numbers. You should be equally outraged about $1 or whatever that number is. But they're using that number without the proof behind it, and our team here could break down what that looks like. They just said the entire program. Well, that is not the case, and this becomes problematic because we're already hearing it and we're very conscious to it. Those programs that the vast majority that are providing incredible services are now being are being put at a disadvantage because we're not able to get them out. So no, we don't have any proof. I don't know if these guys, and I don't know if some of you know Inspector Clark. You can hear the folks from DHS. I'll let them comment a little bit because it's a number that I want to know. Here's what I would say is you're going to see more of these arrests. You're going to see more of these folks happening because many of these are loaded into the system about a year ago. They've been stop payments. We know who they are and they're going to prison. It's just a matter of building the case because it doesn't happen overnight. But to extrapolate what that number is for sensationalism or to make statements about it, it doesn't really help us. It doesn't get us to where we need. I just need their help to prosecute this. I need their help to help us get a realistic perception on this because the goal here is, by saying the entire thing is wrong, is to pull the very programs that provided this incredible care. That's their ultimate goal. So you'll hear a little on the details.
Sure. John Connolly, Deputy Commissioner and State Medicaid Director at the Department of Human Services. I think a couple of things are important here with respect to the number. We've seen evidence of tens of millions of dollars in fraud to this point. We don't have evidence in hand to suggest that we have $9 billion in fraud in these benefits over the last 7 years. And if there is evidence, we need it so that we can stop payment. That's a very alarming number. And so if there is evidence, credible allegations of fraud, we need that information to take action now. I think that's the first thing to say. A couple of other things that are important about these services and the figures out there. So of the $18 billion, $6 billion ran through a managed care organization. So that's one level of vetting that they are charged with doing in their contracts with us. In addition, $10 billion of that $18 billion is subject to electronic visit verification. And that basically means that a worker that goes to provide services in someone's home is basically indicating with a timestamp when they arrived, when they left, what service they provided, who they are, and who received the service. So that's another level of vetting. The third is that $11 billion of the 18 was authorized by a county case manager. So that means that care was authorized according to clinical need, an assessment, a care plan, and then authorized again in the dollar amounts by a county case manager. So we are looking at all of those things to be sure that our checks and balances are working, certainly in partnership with those folks that are part of our systems. But I think that is just an important piece of context. And then the last thing I'll say, there's been suggestion also that we are suddenly withholding payment or stopping payment. We have a 2-week compassionate transition period that we give to providers and county case managers to work on transitions of care, to make sure that folks who are impacted by a payment withhold applied to a provider have the ability to transition to another service provider as needed. So there are intentional actions in place to support folks who may be impacted by a provider with a withhold that's applied to them.
Yesterday we heard from them saying, yesterday we heard from federal prosecutors who are finding fake companies that are out there. Not just tweaking the hours of care, but just totally fake companies out there. That's all they're saying. Is that what you're seeing?
I might invite Inspector General James Clark to talk about that.
James Clark, Inspector General at the Department of Human Services. Unfortunately, we are seeing greedy people and businesses exploiting our Medicaid program, right? $1 of fraud is too much. So I haven't seen evidence of billions or $9 billion of fraud, but again, any amount of fraud is too much. We have been moving aggressively at the Department of Human Services more than ever to suspend payments when we see evidence of fraud and refer criminals to law enforcement. If there is evidence of Medicaid fraud, the state should be given that information so DHS can slam the door on these people and businesses that are engaging in fraud. I have a very unique role in state government. I work at the Department of Human Services. I can shut off money to people and businesses where there is evidence of fraud. I previously sent letters to the U.S. Attorney's Office asking them to share evidence of the fraud, and I hope we meet soon. But to answer your question, yes, unfortunately, greedy people and businesses have learned how to exploit our programs and are trying to steal from us.
Have you responded to your questions, asking to show evidence?
So far, I haven't received any evidence or information to support the billions or $9 billion information from federal law enforcement. But again, I want to collaborate. I want to partner with law enforcement. That's how this system should work. we investigate, we suspend payments, we refer cases to law enforcement, and to the extent there is information about massive fraud in our programs, billions or $9 billion worth of fraud, I desperately want to see that evidence. I want to partner with law enforcement. I want to work on real solutions to these problems.
Well, I mean, to be clear, though, I mean, Joe Thompson was saying that he, by looking at it, he thinks there could be. He didn't suggest that there, in fact, is. He's saying it could be as much as that.
Is that called speculation?
Well, but his reasoning was based on looking at reviews of billing in previous cases. He sees more red flags than he sees legitimate providers, and you guys have seen that on your end too, right? People overbilling, there being some suspicious payments there. So is it wrong for him to look at that and say, I'm seeing some of the red flags we've seen in other cases, if that's where he's coming from on this point?
I wouldn't say it's wrong. I mean, we do the same thing at the Department of Human Services. We look at billing data, we look for red flags. What I'm saying is I haven't seen any evidence or information to suggest that there's $9 billion worth of Medicaid fraud that has happened in the state of Minnesota.
Do you have a number as the Inspector General?
John, do you want to take that over?
At this point, like I said, the evidence that we have indicates tens of millions of dollars in fraud. We know that investigations are not done. As the governor said, we are still working hard to get ahead of the fraud, to prevent fraud and also investigate fraud that may be in the system. So there isn't a final number at this point, but we don't have evidence to suggest that level of fraud or a $9 billion number. Like I said, at the outcome of legal proceedings, tens of millions is really the number we have at this moment.
About the ICS program, is that what you're seeing in the tips you turn over to outside law enforcement? Is the ICS program where you're seeing a lot of these problems?
Eric has the last question today.
Unfortunately, we have suspended payments to ICS providers. Information from investigation shows that certain providers are billing us for services that they are not providing. And when we receive that information and when our investigations confirm that information, again, we suspend payments, we shut off the money, and we refer to law enforcement.
Governor, can I just clarify something that you
Sure.
said earlier? You said, I'm accountable. Is that you taking blame for this? I just want to
Look,
make sure that I'm clear on that. If not, who or what?
Look, who's ever in charge, and I said, unlike the president, I'm the governor now. Whether these programs happened before we got here or afterwards, it doesn't matter. We're here now. We're the ones fixing it. You have my guarantee on this is that I certainly will have this thing fixed, and you see that we're on the front end of it. That's how this works. And so would I have wanted to stop this? Would I have gone out? You know, if you think the governor goes out and checks somebody on Medicaid and that they were there, no, but that's somebody in government needed to do that. And if they didn't do that, or if there were loopholes in this, and what we found is these are poorly written and it left openings, and the goal was to get the money out. We'll fix that. But yeah, I'll take accountability for it. But what you're seeing here is you're seeing a weaponization. We'll continue to fix it. They're going to continue to come up with numbers that don't have it there, and it's sensationalized. I don't expect anything different from this administration. But the thing that I think that folks need to recognize, and I think they do, as governor of Minnesota, I'm working on the healthcare side of things. We're working on plowing the roads. We're working on making sure we're implementing the best paid family medical leave program. And look, the Republicans think they're going to, but that's it. You don't ask to be governor of Minnesota just complaining about a problem that you did absolutely nothing to. And I will highlight at this point in time, if there are members of the legislature that have credible concerns, we have independent folks. We have numerous folks who you could get this to, but as James said on this, it took 6 months to arrest these people. We stopped it immediately once we had that authority. And so that's happening across the board. We're going to, I think, at the end of the day, and even the CMS folks who are now showing up, unannounced, unprecedented, showing up and doing their inspections are acknowledging that Minnesota is, at this point in time, probably tighter than any other state. And those are good things that we're using the ability to try and fight this. But yeah, you'll hear something from me that you don't hear from them. Yes, I accept responsibility. I'll expect responsibility to fix it. I again thank the Department of Justice, the Attorney General, for doing the things necessary. I would also ask them to multitask. You've got some files you need to get out in D.C. You got some other stuff you can work on. You can help us on fentanyl. You can make sure that our police are funded where we're getting cutted. Our anti-terrorism dollars were taken away. So the big picture here is the focus is this, yeah, and this is terrible. And as James said, $1 too many. But I'm not going to shy away from the great accomplishments we've made here, the things we've done, our ability to fix this, and I'll take accountability for it. I expect to get accountability from the Republicans to help us out and fix this. So if you're setting on information, you're going to be part of the investigation very quickly if you're not helping us. You need to get these things forward. I don't care. We have an independent. Give it to Tim O'Malley. He's there so you can do that. If you're saying you don't trust law enforcement, I don't know why. You don't trust BCA. I don't know why you're not backing our folks in uniform who are fighting this. These are the folks who did all the work. They did all the research. They said, yeah, this is the case. We stopped this. They're not getting money, but these guys are criminals. Here you go, Department of Justice, prosecute. And then they're being told to turn around and, I mean, how often do you think the President of the United States comments on individual cases of Medicaid fraud? For God's sakes, we got a senator from Florida who is still in the United States Senate and was credibly accused of Medicaid fraud. So the one thing I think Minnesotans need to know is that you're going to see more of these people going to jail. You're going to know that a lot of these people already know they're going to jail because they've been stopped in this. As you heard, the compassionate approach that we take to this is we're not dropping you off immediately for these providers and getting folks to where they need to go. This is about solving the problem. Nobody in the legislature on the Republican side is interested in solving this. My God, it would be the worst thing in the world for them if this is solved like we're doing it here early this year, because then what are they going to run on? Cutting your health care, cutting children's meals, raising taxes for the middle class, standing with war criminals, not having the courage to stand up when the President of the United States calls your neighbors garbage and this state a hellhole. They got nothing to run on except complain about this. So you complain at me, you bring it at me, but I'll have it fixed, and then we'll see how you talk about it. So grateful to all of you, grateful to the folks who are here, and we'll keep on it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to take you live to Milwaukee, where a Wisconsin judge is now facing 5 years in prison, up to 5 years in prison, after being found guilty yesterday of felony obstruction. So we'll talk to some of the reporters who've been covering this case all week. All Day Live continues right after this. And welcome back to All Day Live. A Wisconsin judge is now facing up to 5 years in prison after being found guilty of felony obstruction. This was, as a jury determined, for helping a man evade federal immigration agents. It was last April, Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was hearing a case for a man who was charged with battery. Prosecutors have claimed that she let that man leave out a back door after learning that ICE was there to arrest him for being in the country illegally. That man eventually arrested and deported. We wanted to now bring in a couple of folks here from our Milwaukee sister station. It's Christina Van Delst and Bill Miston from Fox 6. Thanks, you guys, for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I wanted to bring Bill in because I know you and I have chatted throughout the week as I've been in the broadcast room, but Bill was our eyes and ears in the courtroom all week. We were joking that his hands are maybe falling off today because he was giving us a play-by-play of what was actually going on in that courtroom. So I wanted him here as you were in the room when the verdict was read last night and had the tone of what was happening in the courtroom.
And that's a great place to start. Thanks, Christina. So Bill, tell us a little bit about that moment. The verdict is read, and what was it like in there?
Yeah, well, it was 4 days of trial of the jury hearing testimony from 19 government witnesses through the first 3 days of the trial. And then on the fourth day, the defense presented its own case lasting about 45 minutes with 4 witnesses. But in total, through the entire sum of the trial, 4 days, more than 16 hours of testimony that this jury heard. And so it was late Thursday morning that closing arguments were presented, and then it was around 2:30 in the afternoon that the jury got the case and began their deliberations. And so there were several questions that the jury had throughout their deliberations. One of them was a question so Hannah Dugan was charged with 2 counts, one a felony and one a misdemeanor. Count 1 was a misdemeanor of concealing a person from an administrative arrest. And so the question that the jury had specifically relating to the indictment in count 1, as the jury was tasked with reviewing, was, did Hannah Dugan need to know the name of the individual in order to conceal that person from an arrest for this administrative warrant for this man named Eduardo Flores Ruiz back on April 18th. And the judge, after a lot of back and forth between the defense and prosecution and the government, the judge said that as a part of the instructions to the jury is that, including that the defendant Dugan needed to know the name of the individual, and then that was really kind of a win for the defense there. You know, obviously a lot on the line here for this judge. She's been a judge for a number of years now, a lawyer for even longer, and well known in the legal community. So after that instruction was given to the jury, you could definitely see in court there was a buoying of spirits for the defense team. Later on, the jury came back with another question. This one was for the felony count 2, which was endeavoring to obstruct proceedings. The proceedings being this ICE enforcement and removal operation proceeding that there was a warrant for this man's arrest. And so there was a question about that. It did seem that the judge did rule more in favor of the government, and ultimately it was a mixed verdict. So the jury found Judge Dugan not guilty of count 1 of concealing a person from administrative warrant, but did find her guilty on the felony, which was endeavoring to obstruct those proceedings. And so when that verdict, when we got word that that verdict had come in, and that was around 8:30, so the jury had been deliberating for nearly exactly 6 hours. When we got word that verdict had come in, obviously the parties come back into court. There's no cameras, it's federal court, so we're having to rely on our eyes, our ears, sketch artists, in order for us to put things on broadcast and online. And you know, you could tell that, you know, here's the moment, here's what, you know, has been months and months of preparation work for Dugan's defense team, for the government. You could say it's hard to say what Judge Dugan's reaction was, because the defense team, all of the parties are facing the bench, and so their backs are to the gallery, which is where we're seated. But before they sat down, before Judge Dugan sat down, one of her attorneys, Nicole Masnica, you know, rubbed her back in a comforting way, you know, like, here we go, here's what's coming. And, you know, you could kind of tell, all right, well, this is how it's ended, and this is where things are going to go forward.
Okay, and we have about a minute left here. Christina, we talked about the video that shows, and I just want to step back a little bit for folks. It's very confusing, but we have there's a surveillance video of Judge Dugan coming out of the courtroom with her robe, coming out to talk to agents on a bench, and then so there's that piece of it, and then the second piece is a surveillance video of, and forgive me if I'm kind of depicting this incorrectly, but essentially helping this man out kind of a side or you know, a door that's not used by the public. So those are the two circumstances. So the guilty on the felony charge, not guilty on the misdemeanor. What does this mean for Judge Dugan? Is she disbarred? Is, you know, what's in her future now?
Yeah, so that's the story I'm actually working on today to get more clarity on what this means moving forward. Bill and I were actually just talking that the Judge Adelman, who heard this case, he has to, help me with the wording. Enter a judgment of conviction. Which couldn't happen until next spring. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to Judge Dugan and her duties as a judge, she could resign. That would have to be gone through the governor's office, which we have not heard that she's done. I have reached out. And then we'll have to see what Judge Adelman does. But Bill and I both think that likely we won't hear if she's no longer a judge until that verdict of conviction actually happens. So as for what's next, that is what I'm working on today. We did want to see from her defense team if she wanted to make a statement today. Haven't yet heard back, but that is one of the questions I think a lot of people are wondering too, is what this means on a bigger scale, nationwide.
Right, yeah, the precedent that this sets, I imagine appeals in order here for her as well. Just really quickly, Christina, reaction from, you know, we know there have been protesters, just sorry, with a few seconds we have left, anything to kind of highlight?
There were two protesters there last night from the corner that we were standing on that, and with the split verdict, it kind of leaves both sides happy and unhappy. Right. So that was an interesting response. Not a lot of protesting yet, but we did see two people out there yesterday.
Yeah, you're right. It's kind of the what happens after this, you know, that's really going to be interesting to watch. You guys, thank you so much for joining us and breaking down what is actually a pretty complicated case with the misdemeanor and the federal counts there. Thank you. Appreciate it. Take care.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You bet. All right, let's take a quick break and come on back with more All Day Live. We're going to talk weather when we come back. Jared Piepenberg is here. What does the weekend have in store? And then how about Christmas? How about next week? How we doing? White Christmas? No white Christmas? He'll tell us when we come back. Stay with us. All right, meteorologist Jared Piepenberg joins us. The calm after the storm here. Just a wild, windy night last night.
It was. I was trying to catch. I was just telling you, I have a friend I worked with in Fargo now as a chief out in Rapid City, and the winds that they had out there were just insane. I didn't even know. I saw an 80-mile-an-hour mark, but there were some places around Rapid City reaching into the 90s reported. I think they're strongest on record is what I was trying to follow from him.
Wow. So like shingles off roofs kind of
sighting.
stuff, right?
He said he was walking around and just like seeing like disaster, like stuff everywhere.
Insane.
And I guess it was like, it was over multiple hours. So they had these frequent wind gusts over 75 miles per hour, which, you know, we have a strong thunderstorm in the summer. It's like, well, it had one little gust.
Right.
You know that it happened for a couple minutes. It was really strong, did some damage. I mean, like they had this over hours. So yeah, tough out there. I mean, it was rough here too. My cousin delivers for FedEx. I was like, are you all right? It's out by Wilmer where it's like all flat farmland. And he's like, had 3 of his drivers go off the road, and then he sent me a video from one of them, and it's like you could see like 5 feet in front of the car.
Oh, I know. I feel like we have to all be really patient with our things we're expecting for the holidays, because you're seeing they're out there constantly, and no matter what the weather.
So, really tough day yesterday. Now today it's like just cold. And calm.
Yeah.
I mean, our cameras just show like the exhaust coming out the buildings and stuff. It's like going straight up.
It is.
So there's like barely any wind. But I was just outside a little bit ago. It's still really cold out there. I think it's 5 in Eden Prairie here. But yeah, we're tracking a little bit of light snow. It's kind of moving out of the Dakotas. This is a really quick moving little wave. So some folks there in western parts of the state, there isn't much wind with this, so there's good news there. So it's just kind of like light little bit of snow. That's going to slide on by. So we may end up seeing even a little bit here in the metro before we close out the day. Not expecting much, but anytime we get a little dusting of snow can slow things down just slightly. And then we're actually going to see another wave early tomorrow morning. But I want to touch on the cold. It's only 3 at the airport, 2 in Duluth. Now look at Rapid City. They had the strong winds yesterday, and then they went cold, and now already up to 61. So they're getting that Chinook wind we talked about.
That's right.
He was just telling me, he's like, man, this west wind is wild out here. I'm like, oh yeah.
It's the Chinook.
Yeah. All right. Our future wind chills here as we head overnight tonight into tomorrow. So if you're traveling on Saturday, it's just mainly going to be cold out there. There's wind chills in the afternoon. We could actually have some falling temperatures again for your Saturday. So chilly one as we head in the weekend. Cold into Sunday morning. Here's your Sunday morning wind chills. Waking up teens and 20s below for a big chunk of the area. And as we head towards Sunday afternoon, we're starting to climb out of this cold pool, and we're actually going to leave it behind, it looks like, for a while. The whole week of Christmas kind of looks like really mild airs on the way.
Did I see a 40 for Christmas Day potentially?
Just a second.
I'm sorry. I ruined it. I'm
it's all good. I did want to talk about early tomorrow morning. We may have a little dusting of snow, and there's hints of maybe a brief little period of wintry mix. I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but travel early on Saturday morning, southern Minnesota. Watch those roads. Just might be some sneaky slick spots. I don't think it'll be a huge deal though, but just watch that. Then we turn cold. There it is. Yeah, you saw that 40 out there.
I'm like the kid that has to open the presents 2 weeks early. I'm so sorry.
Them and then like, I ruined
it.
Yeah, so just a cold weekend coming up here. It'll be breezy in the afternoon on Saturday with the falling temperatures. And then Sunday's cold, just sunny and cold out there, not much happening. And then temperatures look like they'll rise Sunday night, and then looks really mild Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If I was going to add on Friday out there, it still looks really mild as well. We may even close out the month on a milder note. People have been asking, will we have a white Christmas? I still think so, but if you've been playing in your yard in the snow, your kids are out there, those areas where you got a lot of like traffic and stuff like that, that's probably going to show grass by Christmas, but there'll be, of course, the other pockets of your yard that will have the snow in them.
Yeah, okay. All in all, very December. I mean, very.
Just wild ride, but generally not a whole lot of precipitation left in the forecast. Just this little bit that's moving by. I think we'll have like 2 little waves here later today, and then early tomorrow morning. And then generally looks pretty quiet for the rest of the forecast. So better travel.
Yeah, that is so important. All right, thanks, Jared. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you in just a little bit. We are tracking some developing news here that Natalie is keeping track of for us. This is in Arizona. So, Natalie, what are you looking at?
Yeah, so there are reports right now of an active shooter on Luke Air Force Base. This is in Maricopa County, which is not too far from Glendale.
In Arizona,
7 miles,
okay.
Yep, in Arizona. So they posted this on their Facebook page. They said Luke Air Force Base is responding to a reported active shooter incident. Personnel on the base have been directed to shelter in place and then follow guidance of local law enforcement, because right now all law enforcement, emergency personnel are all responding to the base. That's all the information we have right now. I know that our affiliate in Arizona is headed to the scene, as well as Fox News. So we're hoping to have a live shot from there and any updated information soon. But I'll bring that to you as soon as we get any. But yeah, some breaking news down in Arizona right now.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do you want to, let's see, so do you want me to just kind of continue on with some of these headlines
I think
here?
so. Let's do a couple headlines before we head to a break.
Let's do that. Okay, let's start with this, the story at Brown University. That nationwide manhunt is over. So this happened last night. A little bit later, if folks went to bed or weren't paying attention, you woke up this morning, maybe you saw this. So police saying that the man responsible for the shooting at Brown University and killing an MIT professor was actually found dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So what do we know about this person that they believe was the killer?
Yep, so they believe that this is Claudio Neves Valente. He's a 48-year-old originally from Portugal. They say he's responsible for killing 2 people and 9 others were hurt when he shot them in the engineering building on Brown University. That was last Saturday. So 2 days later, an MIT professor, also from Portugal, was shot and killed in his home near Boston. And law enforcement officials say that they were both in the same education program in their home country of Portugal. So we don't know any connection between them, but they have released that information. And they have said that the suspect was a PhD physics student at Brown from 2000 to 2003. Okay. And what's really interesting here is how they found him, because, you know, this was nearly a week-long manhunt. They said they saw a post on Reddit of someone who said they saw someone who looked like the person they were searching for in a car driving. And so law enforcement officials, FBI, reached out to this Reddit poster. They did an interview with that person, and then they were able to find video of the vehicle. They tracked that vehicle to a car rental facility near Boston, and he used his real name there. So then they had his name, they tracked that to a storage facility he had, and that's where they found him. So really interesting how that all played out.
Yeah, that's, and then do we have information about the suspect as far as, it looks like maybe entered the U.S. through a green card lottery system?
Yes.
Is that,
yes.
We have that information as well?
And so, I mean, this is what they're saying, and President Trump then, because of this, last night, he suspended the diversity visa program, which that makes up to 50,000 green cards available each year for people from countries that are underrepresented in the U.S. So, you know, there are expected to be legal challenges to that move, but that was the president's response when learning that's how he entered the country.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I heard that late last night, and you know, there's a sense of relief, definitely. Especially, they didn't have a lot of video. The video they did have had to be enhanced, so you didn't really know kind of what you were looking at or who you were looking for exactly, like we have in other cases. So.
It's really impressive that Reddit poster recognized the person, you know. So
really?
And I guess a big part of it too was a backpack he had on that was recognizable.
Sure.
So,
okay. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Do you want me to run through some of the couple of other?
I think we can go to break here and then talk to Andrew.
All right.
If that works.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a break and come back. We're going to talk Timberwolves. A lot to talk about, Natalie. Oh my goodness. It was off yesterday, and I came back today, and KG's coming back. What? Kevin Garnett is coming back. So we have that to talk about. Plus, Jaden McDaniels was out in the community yesterday. Really, some pretty wholesome content from Andrew Dukowitz, who's going to check in with us here in just a minute. Stay with us. All Day Live continues.
.com.
And welcome back. What a time to be a Minnesota sports fan. You know, obviously our Vikings aren't doing so hot, to put it mildly, but we're seeing what JJ can do. And then the Wild, I mean, they're just unstoppable. It's just so fun to watch. Also, Timberwolves. They're picking it up. They're doing really well as they head into the holiday season here. Andrew Dukowitz covers the Timberwolves, also the Lynx, and Gophers women's basketball, all the fun stuff. And he joins us now. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me as always. Glad to see you're back and glad to be back.
Yeah. So, and speaking of people coming back, can we just kick it off right now and tell us about the welcome home for Kevin Garnett?
Yeah, I tell you, it's made me feel really old the last couple days because being at Wolves practice and going up to Naz Reid and saying, "What do you think of Kevin Garnett coming back?" and Naz being like, "I was 10 when he was playing," has been tough. But it's a really cool moment for fans. I think this was a priority when Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez took over the team, and it's really nice to see that they were able to smooth it out so quickly. And then for kind of the internet Twitter sleuths that have been looking at all of these breadcrumbs and putting up pins in their tack board,
Andrew,
it's finally coming true.
When is this going to happen? We need the sleuths on the date.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I would be really surprised if they announce when he will be back in the arena. I think that will be an organic moment where, you know, coming out of halftime or coming out of the third quarter, Kevin Garnett's just there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think Kevin Garnett still has like a house in Minnesota. So
probably. You know when he'll come out is. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it could be as early as tonight. It could be against New York when Cat's back in town. They could save him for the playoffs. It really has a lot of possibilities to make that moment special.
Yep. I think he does the fourth quarter hype video as the fourth quarter starting in the arena. He gets in there and it's an old video from decades ago, and it would be cool if he did that live. I'm just putting it out there because the Timberwolves need my help to make that an awesome experience. So let's talk a little bit about some of the other things going on. What I love about your coverage of the Wolves and Lynx and everything that you cover is that you really kind of get in on just the fun stuff on the side that we don't always have time to cover here. You know, with our sports department, they're covering so many different sports and have to cover the sport itself. And then you kind of have carved out this nice niche. Tell us about some of the things that you've been covering lately, starting with yesterday with Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah, it's the benefit of only covering one sport is I get to go to all of the fun things. And Jaden braved the wind and the snow and the rain and everything else to do an event at, I believe it was the Hmong International Academy in North Minneapolis, where part of his Winter Essentials drive is bringing people in need winter clothing. So he surprised a group of elementary students with a book reading with Crunch, Crunch being the star of the show, I would say. And then afterwards,
sorry, Andrew, hang on a second. Do we have the video of that, or do we just have a photo? Okay, let's play the video.
Yeah.
This is your video, Andrew. What's happening here?
Yeah. So again, part of the charm of being able to do this and being, you know, close with people at the team is I get to be the behind-the-scenes person. So they are introducing Jaden to go around the corner here, having all of the kids howl for him. Before he runs around the corner and surprises them. It's always funny because I think they always make the kids do it 2 or 3 times, but this time especially, Jaden was ready to go.
There he goes.
They made him wait a little longer.
That was loud enough. And then I understand he actually didn't have much of a voice yesterday too, which is a bummer.
Yeah, it's interesting. I got to talk with him on Tuesday, and he had a voice just fine, said he went home, took a nap, woke up feeling fine, but couldn't talk. So I think one of the teachers called him Beaker from the Muppets. So he was trying his best. He was really giving it a go. I think one of the charming things about Jaden is very self-aware. So as he's talking to these kids and just kind of squeaking around, he's like, I can hear myself. This is terrible.
Yeah. Well,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
every kid that was there got a beanie hat. They got to pick a book from the Wolves bookmobile to bring home over spring break and keep, and then a swag bag and an autographed picture of Crunch too. So it's a really cool event.
That is so great. Love to see that, and I'm glad you're able to get out there and cover those kinds of things. It's cool to see what they're doing off the court. I wanted to really quickly, I didn't want to run out of time because I want to talk about the WNBA and what's going on there. You also cover the links. A big vote today in this process that's not always like cut and dry. I mean, there are steps involved here, but where are we with the WNBA and the players?
Yeah, I think they're still just staring across the table at each other. I know both sides really want to get a deal done. They don't want to lose any of the steam coming off of last season and 2 years ago when it was Caitlin Clark that entered into the league. They do realize how important it is, but it seems like there are just a lot of issues. They're pretty far apart. So the WNBA is, releasing what new max salaries would look like and kind of big numbers. But if you do the math on it, it amounts to be a revenue sharing agreement that's pretty similar to what they've had over the last 5 or 6 years since COVID. And the players would like to see that revenue go from a 10% share to closer to 30%. So it's still kind of a staring match. And, the WNBA Players Association voted to authorize a strike if it were to come to that. I don't think they're going to just lock the doors tomorrow, but it was pretty much unanimous. I want to say it was 95 to 97% of players agreed to stay out of facilities and agreed with a work stoppage if it were to come to that. So again, I'm still pretty optimistic that it will get done before the season starts, but as we're standing here right now, I wouldn't be surprised if when this current extension ends in January, if there is a work stoppage just to try and iron out the last few details.
Sure. Okay. Well, we'll stay tuned. If we keep rolling with that, if it looks like we're entering that territory, we can come back and kind of revisit some of the other details here. Retirement benefits, childcare, better wages, and the WNBA has obviously changed a lot in the last few years. Are they still making money? Are they making money now? All those questions out there. So we'll dig into that a little bit more as we go. The Wolves, just really quickly, Wolves and the Thunder tonight. What are you thinking?
Yeah, the Wolves are talking about this like it's a big deal, which, Rudy said it was a must win today. Nas kind of talked about it that way yesterday. And to be honest, this is a measuring stick game for them to see how far off they are, to see how close they are to that upper echelon right now. As we're talking, they're 6th in the West and about 3 games behind the 2 seed. But Oklahoma City has just been a juggernaut. They've lost 2 games all season. So the Wolves are motivated. I do think, Anthony Edwards listed as questionable again. He was getting some shots up in front of the media after practice today. I think it's fair to think that he might be back tonight. And everyone on the team is pretty locked in at really making this a tough game. So one thing we've learned about the Wolves over the last couple of years is when they're motivated, they're one of the best teams in the league.
That's just it, right? All right, Andrew, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. We'll talk to you, next week and see. There's going to be a lot more to talk about, I think, as the Wolves get more and more traction here. So have a great weekend. See you soon.
Thank you.
Okay.
Always a pleasure.
All right. Bye. Okay. Nat, you want to jump in and round out the show with us here, Natalie?
Yes. And really quick, I know we normally talk about some fun stuff right now, but I just want to give an update. The lockdown at the Luke Air Force Base has been lifted.
Oh, okay.
So law enforcement responded. There was no threat, and they cleared the area, and everything's good to go. So there's that update.
Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Now we can move on.
Okay. Good. And I really quick too, before we move on, I wanted to just mention, I don't know if folks had a chance to see this, but Rolling Stone did this exclusive Melissa Hortman article. It was published yesterday by Stephen Roderick and written in present tense because Roderick said not one of the family, friends, or colleagues he interviewed referred to Hortman in the past tense. It's an incredible article, and I was just reading a tweet from former Republican lawmaker Pat Garofalo, who said, just read it, be sure and read it. And he said, be upset if you want, but the following statement is true. Melissa would have been a damn good governor, is kind of how he put it. She was someone who was able to reach across the aisle, as we saw, and one of her many, many legacies that she's left. So if people want to check that out, that article just dropped yesterday. Let's see, what else? Oh, goodness.
I thought really quick, if we want to do something fun.
Yes.
Holiday shopping right now.
Oh, I know, it's crazy.
So producer Kara found this for us. Saturday is expected to be a shopping nightmare, you might say. Record the National Retail Federation is predicting record shoppers tomorrow. I do have a lot of shopping I have to do. So.
And Thanksgiving was so late this year that I just feel like I'm so far behind.
I know. I did some ordering online, but there are things that I just waited too long on. I need to go pick up.
I know. Well, there's that, and and it's. I don't see as many like, oh, you can get this tonight or tomorrow. It's more like 2 or 3 days out now. Earlier this morning, Kelly O'Connell was talking about, they were profiling kind of shop local, and I was like, yeah, of course. It's not at the front of my mind because convenience and is right there, but definitely heading out this weekend and trying to hit some local stores. And
I know, and there's winter farmers markets as well.
Oh, you're right.
There's a bunch of winter farmer markets around the metro area, and they're usually Saturday or Sunday mornings, and there are so many great things there. It's amazing.
Is there
there's food, but there's also like so many neat crafts or like just real craftsmanship things there. So that's always a good place to go.
If you just Google winter farmers markets.
Yep, just in Minnesota. And also if you go on Minnesota Grown, they should have a list. And there's the Minnesota Farmers Market website as well. So yes.
Perfect.
And Kara just messaged me as well. I know she's in there with you.
Yeah.
The Target app is apparently down today. So that's bad for shoppers.
She's right here. You could have just yelled it across the day.
Yeah.
The Target app is down. Well, I'm in it. I don't. Maybe
you're on it. I have it on my phone too. Let me test it.
Oh, online or oh boy.
Online ordering. Is that what she said?
Boy, online orders. Is that what you were saying?
Online orders and pickup orders aren't going.
And pickup orders aren't going through.
Pickup orders are huge. So.
Okay.
We have some Zen if we want to hit that.
Let's do it. I love it.
All right. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Okay. All right, welcome back to All Day Live. 1 o'clock is your time, and we wanted to give you a check of the weather because it's on the top of mind of a lot of people right now as people are traveling, maybe in the air, or on the on the roads, that kind of thing. But also just if it's going to be really cold, should we stay inside? Do we want to go out and run a bunch of errands? That kind of thing.
So kind of to sum it up, the whole 7-day forecast is cold this weekend, warmer next week.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the TLDR, I guess, too long don't read. Just briefly summing it up. There's some snow that's moving across the state right now. That's staying really, really light. There's not much wind, but it looks impressive, but there's only a couple little bands in there. If I was going to kind of narrow that down, it's not producing a whole lot, but some folks are going to see a little dusting here as we head throughout the second half of the day.
Is that going to cause problems on the roads, do you think?
So, if you're traveling up I-94 toward Fargo or someone coming down there on Friday, I really don't think it's going to be a big issue for folks, but it might be one of those things you got to slow down a little bit. There's a little bit of snow on the road because there's not a whole lot of wind, but anytime we're getting that and people are driving on it, it can make it a little bit slick. But I don't think it's going to be a big event by any means. The Weather Service doesn't even have any weather headlines, and they're the ones that issue any of those. But it's cold out there. That's what it feels like out there. Not a friendly afternoon.
That is not friendly. No.
14 below Fargo, feels like mid-20s below in Winnipeg. So the cold air, we still have that connection right behind that wave that moved by. The thing is, there's not a whole lot of wind. As we head overnight tonight into tomorrow, we're going to have another surge of cold air. So temperatures actually tonight into early tomorrow morning will be at their warmest for your Saturday. They fall throughout the day. So your Saturday, maybe have an early Christmas thing or something to go to tomorrow. It's just going to be a cold day. As we head towards Sunday, sunshine, still cold out there. There's Sunday morning for you. So really bitter up north. And then as we head towards Sunday afternoon, we're starting to climb out of this cold pool, and it looks like we're going to turn pretty nice here. But I thought I'd kind of show you what the snow looks like kind of moving across here. So a little dusting for some folks. Some other places may pick up 1/2 inch to 1 inch, and then that moves on by. This is later this afternoon. Here's tonight, another little wave along another boundary is going to slide on by. And tomorrow morning, there may be some minor wintry mix. So travel early tomorrow morning. There may be some fresh coat of snow out there. That may even happen before daybreak. So just watch that. Southern Minnesota, and then 4-letter word of cold, just hanging out with us. That's tomorrow afternoon. So falling temperatures for your Saturday, then staying cold into Sunday, but quiet. And I was looking next week with the mild temperatures, it doesn't even look like much wind. So that's going to be really nice for most of us. And a lot of folks will have the week off. Ice anglers, that's some gorgeous weather to stand out on the ice. I mean, 30s and not much wind. It's going to be almost hot out there for ice anglers.
No kidding. No, really. Yeah, so, I feel like about that.
I was just kind of driving by one of the local lakes, and it looks like most of that snowpack that was out on the ice, a lot of that melted, which is actually can be good because now we refreeze, and now we should just have like mainly ice. We don't have that insulating layer. I mean, it's not for everyone, but a lot of that melted on that really warm day we had last week. So I don't know. I think that the ice conditions could improve and be pretty good coming up here because there's not much snow in the forecast. So we'll just keep making ice, which would be good.
That's great. All right. Thank you, Jared. Appreciate that. All right. Let's talk about some of the other news that we're following today. We're going to check in with Rob in a second here, but I'll set it up by saying this, that Congress is on a holiday break. So there was no vote on those expiring health care subsidies. That's what the government shutdown was all about a couple of months ago. And there's a lot of concern that this is going to mean higher insurance rates for millions of Americans come January 1st, because that's when those enhanced tax credits expire. 22 million people who get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act. Out-of-pocket costs, we're told, could double, maybe even triple. And so, we're standing by as they have adjourned for the holiday break. We heard from Governor Walz just a short time ago, and our Rob Olson is following this piece of it for us, who had a press conference, and Robbie talked a little bit about some of the concerns that he has here for Minnesotans and how this might impact them.
Yeah, a pretty lengthy news conference here with the governor and folks from MNsure, legislators as well, talking about the effect of inaction on extending the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. And, they're saying that the state can work to try to make up some of that impact, but nowhere near what it fully does. That as many as about 19,000 Minnesotans that will lose all financial assistance from having no extension of these coverages. And about 90,000 Minnesotans will see premiums rise, they say, by about 54% on average, and that begins in January. So they're saying that premiums will rise by, in some cases, a couple $100 a month or more. And, they fear that this will lead people to maybe forego some of the other either change their healthcare coverage significantly or have to forego other things, or in some cases just be completely underinsured, and then they worry about the impact there on Rob, people, with prescriptions, et cetera.
I just want to clarify one thing. So you said 19,000 Minnesotans. Those are 19,000 Minnesotans who have policies with the Affordable Care Act, and then you said 90,000. So that's outside of Affordable Care Act. Am I hearing that right?
Yep.
Okay.
They had those numbers separated out.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think, anecdotally, we're hearing more and more people talk about how, this year they're going to, in 2026, they're going to be seeing those premiums go up. And did they talk at all about, you say from a state perspective, is there anything they can do? Did they get into any kind of detail or lean one direction or the other where they could go on something like this? Because I can't imagine they're going to get any help.
Yeah, nothing really specific. I'm just kind of going through my notes. It's a pretty lengthy news conference here. They say that they will, hang on a second, I'm trying to find my, that they will be doing a lot of things to try to find ways to make up for some of that. But they said in no way can they come close to filling a giant hole that is a loss of federal subsidies on this. So they said, heading into the legislative session, they'll be exploring a number of ways that they can mitigate some of this to an extent, but in no way does that make up for what is lost here. Now, if Congress were to come back in January, now this takes effect January 1, they said, if Congress were to come back in January and then there was an extension past then of these subsidies, then MNsure would look at ways to then open up enrollment, re-enroll people, try to fix things, try to alter it then. So there is that window if Congress does take action after the holiday break. Okay. But that doesn't stop the rates from going up on January 1 for the lack of any action of extending these subsidies. It would just make things more complicated and difficult than in January or later to try to make changes if there was an extension at the congressional level. So they're just basically kind of sounding the alarm that this will have a major impact on people as it stands now.
Okay. After that press conference, as we imagined, there were some reporters who had questions about some of the fraud headlines that came out yesterday from the U.S. Attorney's Office. Can you walk us through kind of some of the questions and his and the governor's answers? And then he also brought in a couple of other folks as well, who the director, I think, of state Medicaid, things like that.
Yeah, and it was the Inspector General, I'm just getting through my notes on this one, this comes after the Assistant U.S. Attorney for Minnesota, Joe Thompson, the news conference yesterday announcing additional charges in, fraud related to, Medicare programs, Medicaid programs, housing assistance, autism centers, et cetera. And he had suggested that that this is industrial scale fraud was his terms, and that of $18 billion in this kind of federal funding, as much as half might be connected to fraudulently made claims. That's a big number, $9 billion. John Connolly, the state Medicaid director, and as well as James Clark, the Inspector General for the Department of for DHS here, Human Services, said there is no evidence to suggest anywhere near that number. The governor himself suggested that that's very much speculation on their standpoint, and suggested this was very much political, being that the U.S. Attorney's Office is a federal department, is a federal role, that he believes that now this has been weaponized against the state of Minnesota as well, that they have certainly evidence of tens of millions of dollars in fraud. Feeding Our Future alone is about a $250 million in fraud. Other, cases that they've investigated and charged, added many millions more. But they said that there's no evidence of anywhere near $9 billion, and said that, if there is that evidence, they would like to hear that evidence, that they are the ones that are responsible for and have the power to turn off the funding quickly to investigate, and but say that $9 billion is purely speculative, no evidence to suggest anything even close to that. And if there is, they would certainly like to see it, because they could act on it.
That they've seen, right? So, yep. Okay, let's see. What else was I going to ask you about, Rob? There's something else I was just going to ask you about, and I just lost
Christmas shopping.
No, I could use some help. How are you doing?
I think we're good.
Okay? Are you
Yeah.
good, really? Wow,
I don't know. My wife handles it all. She says we're good, so I'm guessing we're good there. She's on top of it.
She is absolutely on top of it. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think that was. Well, go ahead.
So yeah, this is obviously a major topic, and it will continue to be a topic up through this. And the governor pointed out too that this is coming into, this is an election year. He suggested that there are folks on the other side of the aisle from him that don't necessarily want to solve this because they want to use it as something to run on. That this is going to be, and certainly we know that this is going to be a major campaign issue going into next November's election. So it really has become a major political football here, in which there is obviously a lot of identified fraud, charged fraud through the U.S. Attorney's Office. And, investigations keep turning up more. But he said, it is on his watch. He takes responsibility for the fact that it is up to him to fix it, and he wants to fix it. And he hopes that others will join him in fixing it. But again, there is this concern, at least from his standpoint, that maybe the interest isn't fixing it, but using it for political gain. That remains to be seen here going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, if it's there, it's there, right? And so it's just a matter of, of seeing the numbers and understanding where they're at. And then, of course, we have this new initiative in the state, the Director of Integrity, Tim O'Malley. I'm forgetting his actual title, but you know what I'm talking about. They're moving forward now with that. So, and I remember interviewing the legislative auditor a couple of months ago, who audits these types of programs, and she said to me at that time, she's like, "You ain't seen nothing yet. It's going to keep on coming out. There's so much there, and so we're just seeing this in waves, and it's not necessarily new fraud, but it's just finding it and then hopefully fixing it." So.
Yeah. I mean, massive programs, massive amounts of money, and certainly massive opportunities to try to defraud
entire
those
companies
programs
that
as
never
well.
Existed.
And they said in a number of cases, they have stopped payments to some of these things months ago, midsummer. And so you will see more charges because there are people connected to those programs or companies or entities in which payments were stopped 6 months ago, and maybe somebody hasn't been charged there. So they, said you will see more charges, but that is in some cases people that haven't been getting funding for some time now, and they're under investigation. So, there'll be a lot more to come.
All right, Rob. Thank you for checking in on that. We will keep following it, and we'll see what you got coming up a little bit later tonight. So, have a good one. Okay, we'll see you later. All right, did you want to try to dip it? Is the president's press conference happening? Okay, not quite yet. Not quite yet. So this is President Trump is expected to announce a deal here that he says will lower drug prices. So maybe if we may have to take a break here, Nat. You let me know what you want to do. Okay, let's take a break and come back, and we'll see if that has started yet, and we'll dip into that. So All Day Live continues right after this. Welcome back to All Day Live. It is about 1:15 on this Friday. Are you coasting? Are you coasting into your time off maybe next week and just kind of getting through the day? Well, we're glad that you're spending part of it with us. We appreciate it as we cover some developing news and also some live events. And one of them that we are watching right now is at the White House. And this is a press conference where President Trump is expected to talk about a new deal that, he says will lower drug prices. So we are expected to get some more information there when he gets going. They've been standing there for quite some time now, so we anticipate that he'll be taking the podium shortly, and we'll try to get to that when we can. We are also at the same time waiting for head coach Kevin O'Connell of your Minnesota Vikings, who is giving his weekly media availability here. Usually happens around 1:15 is when that window opens, and so when that happens, if we can take you there, we'll listen in on him talking about about the upcoming game with the Giants this weekend. Giants really struggling this season. I think they've only won 2 games. So hopefully this is another opportunity for the Vikings to not only get a win, but also just really exercise those muscles and see what they've got going into next season. I'm going to take you through a couple of headlines now. Oh, no, I'm not. Natalie just said the president's taking the podium. So let's listen in. And it looks like some other healthcare advisors there as well. Let's listen to the president.
Yes. He's one of the greatest executives in the country, in the world. Nice to see you. It's a great honor. These are among the greatest executives anywhere in the world, so it's an honor to have them with us, and I think they'll be very happy about what we have to say. I thought I'd start by announcing 2 things. This is the gold card that, as you know, the Secretary of Commerce and myself and some others have been working on for quite a while. And Howard, how much have we sold in a few days?
$1.3 billion worth in a matter of a couple of days.
That's essentially it's the green card on steroids, and it's a pathway, and it's been an amazing thing. And as you know, millions of people pour into our country from the border, and not anymore. They don't know. Nobody comes in actually anymore. But under the Biden administration, 25 million people came in. And they came from prisons and mental institutions, and they were drug dealers, and all sorts of people came in that shouldn't be here. They came from the jails all over Venezuela, all over the world, the Congo. And now when they come in, they have to pay $1 million. And we've had a tremendous surge, and you're going to be happier than anybody because when you go to Harvard and the Wharton School of Finance and all of the great schools and you want to hire somebody and then you find out that, I'm sorry, they can't stay in our country for more than 24 hours. They graduate from the top schools. These people want to hire them. Now you're able to buy a card and you're able to keep people in the country. They can't keep people in the country. And they go to Canada, they go to other countries. A lot of times they go to Canada even though they work for the companies behind me. So now you're able to buy, the companies are able to buy the card and use it for people coming in to our country so they can stay in our country instead of being immediately shipped out after graduating. They graduate number 1 in their class at the best school, and they want to go to work for Johnson & Johnson, as an example, who's not here today, who will be here next week. They're well represented here. But they want to go to work for one of the great companies behind me, and you learn they can't do that because they're shipped out of the country. They're not shipped out anymore. So your company will pay a little bit, but that's okay. You'll be able to get them. So I just wanted to, it's called the gold card, the Trump gold card. Quite a beautiful thing. And you've taken in just a few days, you've taken in over $1.5 billion. That goes all toward reducing debt, goes into the Treasury of the United States. And I thought I'd do this before we start on most favored nations. I want to read this because I would have said it the other night, but I was not allotted too much time, actually. You had a couple of brand new shows opening, and I understand that. But I do want to say, and some people say, oh, you shouldn't say it. It sounds negative. To me, I think it sounds positive. The only reason our unemployment tucked up and went up to 4.5%, which it went up to 4.5%, which is quite a low number, but still, is because we are reducing the government workforce by numbers that have never been seen before. In other words, government jobs are way down. And as you know, we don't need 10 people to fill one job, which is what we had in government in many cases. So the government workforce, by numbers that have never been seen before, has been reduced very substantially, and it will continue to be reduced. 100% of our new jobs are in the private sector. So this is for the last number of months. Think of that, 100%. Are you shocked to hear that? That's the way to make America great again, when you think, right? It's the only way. 100% of new jobs are in the private sector. And I could reduce unemployment to 2%, 1%, or practically zero by just hiring people into the federal government even though those jobs are not necessary, which is what we had before. We had millions and millions of people having jobs that they never even showed up. So I wish that the media would report that the 4.5% is an amazing number. And again, if they don't report it, I guess maybe I'll just let some people go into the federal workforce. It'll look really wonderful. And what we're doing is the only way you can do it to make a country great. You can't have the government jobs. You have to have the private sector jobs. And these are among the biggest hires of private sector. So we have reduced the federal workforce by tremendous hundreds of thousands of people. And that reflects in unemployment, but that will be used up very quickly. And we've 100% of the new jobs, which, by the way, it's a record-setting number of jobs, too, is in the private sector. And I think that'll get even stronger when these buildings being built all over the country, of which they're building some, too. But AI and auto plants and everything else, they're being built all over the country. When that happens, your numbers will be even better. But I would like you to report it the way it is. We don't do the federal workforce jobs. We're reducing that very substantially. I'm thrilled to be joined by the leaders of 9 of the world's largest pharmaceutical manufacturers, all very big names, celebrities in their own right, very, very powerful people, and they head some of the most admired companies anywhere in the world. It's a great group. To announce that they've agreed to offer many of their flagship drugs, really all of their flagship drugs, at heavily discounted, most favored nations prices. In other words, whatever the drug sells for over the world, in the world, whatever the lowest number is, if it's Germany, if it's in UK, anywhere, we will match that price. Right now, sometimes it's 10 times higher. We've been laughed at and scoffed at for years. In fact, I was going to do it in my first term, but unfortunately, with the advent of COVID, as you would say, it was not, I don't think it was a very good time to be hitting up Spain, Italy, France, but now we're doing it. So the hardest thing to do was going to be to get a country to do it, because we would have a pill in New York that was for sale for $130, and you could buy it in Germany and France and Spain and someplace. Anyways, they set their own prices for $10. So we'd pay 10 or 13 times more. We'd pay 5 times more. We'd pay all different prices. Now, whatever the lowest price is. Now, the pharmaceutical companies were difficult, but they also love our country. They knew it was unfair. And they were great. I appreciate it. But the bigger problem was going to be the countries. How are you going to get the countries to do it? And we told them, if you don't do it, we're going to have to use tariffs, and we're going to charge you a 10% tariff, which is far more money than the money we're talking about. And they immediately agreed to do it. So we have all the foreign countries agreeing to do it. If we didn't have the use of tariffs, we would never be able to do this. But we used tariff, and they said, is it a threat? I said, yes, it is a threat. Then they said, we will do it, and they dropped the price. So what's happening, because the world is bigger than the United States in terms of people, that same pill would go from $10 to $20 for them, which is an increase, but it wouldn't go to, midway. But it would go from $10 to $20. Ours would go from $130 to $20. So we dropped way down. They went up a little bit. And everyone knows it's the way it is. They, for years, would just say, no, it's medicine got more expensive for us. It would stay. They said, nope, you can't sell it in this country. Let the United States pay. And we had other presidents, all of them, said, okay, we'll pay. So we were subsidizing the entire world. We're not doing it anymore. This is the biggest thing having to do with drugs in the history of the purchase of drugs. And I don't think the maybe press will treat it as a story. This is the biggest front page story that you'll ever see. This is a huge bearing too on the healthcare, because a big part of healthcare is drugs, pharmaceuticals, right, Oz? And this will have a tremendous impact on the reduction of healthcare. The biggest impact is going to be that the money should be paid not to the insurance companies, directly to the people, and the people will buy their own health care. So we're going to be working that. The problem is that the Democrats are very much controlled by the insurance companies that make all that money, but we're not going to let that happen. Starting next year, American drug prices will come down fast and furious, and will soon be among the lowest in the developed world. So in other words, whatever the lowest price for a certain drug, of which these companies make much of it, whatever the lowest price is, that price will come down to that price. So we will get the lowest price anywhere in the world. If they're lower in England than they are in Germany, we take the England price. As of today, 14 out of 17 largest pharmaceutical companies have now agreed. 14 out of 17. Oh, those three they're in deep trouble. But actually, they've agreed, because I think those three companies are coming in at a different time next week. So they've agreed. Johnson & Johnson is one of them, right?
After the holidays.
Why? They couldn't do it faster?
No, we're going to be talking about Trump RX.
Oh, okay. Trump RX. Trump RX is doing well. As of today, 14 out of the 17 largest pharmaceutical companies, but they've all agreed, have now agreed to drastically lower drug prices for their American patients, for the American people and patients. This represents the greatest victory for patient affordability in the history of American healthcare by far. And every single American will benefit. So this is the biggest thing ever to happen on drug pricing and on health care. This will have a tremendous impact on health care itself. I want to thank Sanofi CEO Paul Hudson. Paul?
Yep.
Hi, Paul. I hope they have you in some order. I'll be checking.
Alphabetical, yes, but...
Okay, well, we'll do the best we can. Thank you, Paul. Great company, by the way. Novartis CEO Vas Narasimhan. Thank you very much, Vas. Great job. Genentech CEO Ashley Megaragri. Where are you, Ashley? How are you? Hi. Thank you very much. Great companies. Behringer Inc. President Jean-Michel Bors. Jean-Michel, thank you very much. Gilead CEO Dan O'Day. Dan? Thank you, Dan. Great job. That's a good company. Bristol Myers Squibb Executive Vice President Carrie Gallman. Carrie? Thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. GSK CEO Emma Wormsley. Emma? Thank you very much, Emma. Great job. Merck CEO Rob Davis. Great company. Thank you. Great company. How long have you been CEO?
Almost 5 years.
Very good. You're doing a good job.
Okay, we are going to just dip out of this for a second. I just wanted to update you. I'm looking at our website here on a developing story in Now Then, Minnesota. So this is Anoka County. It's now lasted overnight, and it's a standoff that we understand near Elk River. 12 hours or so it's been going on, and authorities say that there is an armed person who has barricaded themselves inside a home in a small residential neighborhood. An active shelter-in-place order for those surrounding areas. Again, this is in Now Then, relatively smaller community. Anoka County Sheriff saying, again, active shelter-in-place. This is near Jasper Street Northwest and 189th Street Northwest, and they are working currently to negotiate with this person. And let's see, who has barricaded themselves. Okay, you can see the flames and smoke there. So we're following this, and we'll continue to follow it. We're going to go now to TCO, where I believe Kevin O'Connell is taking the microphone to answer some questions from media. So let's listen into that.
Together, third in a row against the NFC East. So we'll be very much excited to get on the plane tomorrow and go get a chance to compete on Sunday. Couple updates for you. I'll get to the game statuses here in a second, but you know, basically after a little bit of collaboration amongst obviously Christian Darrisaw and our medical staff, we've determined that we're going to place him on injured reserve. Kind of as we worked through it day to day this week, felt like, in totality, after a lot of dialogue and good discussion, that's going to be the best thing for Christian, and that will be happening here. It's been a complex injury that he had, and I just want to once again I've admired the way that Christian has attacked this and wanting to be out there for every possible snap he could be with his teammates, and I know he's going to get off to a great start with his preparation for 2026 and put this behind him, and we're behind him 100% to do so. So in addition to that roster move that will happen, we will have 2 players with designations. Javon Hargrave is going to be ruled out today, and then Brian O'Neill will go in questionable after a limited day of work today.
Kevin, how challenging has this been on Christian just from a mental, emotional?
Yeah, I think, and it's not even, it's not even just the day-to-day and the week-to-week as he would try to navigate through this season. It goes back before that. It goes back to, the surgical procedure and then the subsequent rehab that follows, total dedication to a daily process. Our players almost unanimously voted him the Ed Block Courage Award winner, and I think he is a guy that wants to be out there with his teammates and has played at such a high level when we've had him in there as our left tackle, not only this year, but he's established himself as a premier player, one of the premier players at the position in the league. I'm excited to see him get to kind of attack, knowing the fact that he is in a good place right now as his 2025 season wraps up. What's out in front of him is a continuation on a lot of the things, but most importantly, being able to put this injury behind him and feel great about the 2026 season and off season for that matter.
Classify physically, has he had setback?
No.
Okay, never.
No, I mean just whether it's as he started to work back in. I mean, I can think back to a lot of you guys were there. I mean, 30 plus reps in training camp, in joint practices, and was one of the best players on the field. It's just it's the work that he's putting in, but then how does that knee respond? And that is totally normal for the type of injury he had. And I think if anything, we should really be applauding Christian for the way he attacked it and tried to be on the field, like I said, for every snap he possibly could. But as we've worked through it, I think some of the times where maybe we erred on the side of caution with him later in the weeks, depending on swelling or soreness from either previous games work or what did the week look like from travel to was it a full allotment of time between some of those snaps and the next game. There's just a lot of layers to it where, as coaches and as the head coach, just trying to defer to the medical staff and most importantly, making sure Christian's in a good place on everything. But yeah, it's just a really unique year for him. And one that I think he'll be able to really grow from. Just some of the adversity throughout that and how he handled it and attacked it will be a real positive and kind of something I know a lot of his teammates were really thankful for.
So as you look ahead, though, to what extent is there concern that this, the injury last year is just going to be something that's hard to deal with? Yeah, it's hard to hypothetically look ahead. All I know is that if he puts the same type of work ethic into it that he did from the moment he got that thing fixed, my personal belief is he's going to be in a great place and able to get back to his normal routine work weeks, his normal game prep, his normal type of preparation, understanding that we're going to have to be flexible at times if we need to whatever gives Christian the best chance to move forward the right way. And that happens sometimes. That with other players that maybe
it's not as much of a noticeable thing, but we're always constantly trying to, maintain, and whether it's a maintenance plan, whether it's a scheduled plan, we're always trying to make sure we do what's best to prepare our players to play for the game, but then most importantly, make sure they're as close to 100% as we can get.
From a team building perspective, I mean, you still think of him as the long-term left tackle of the team?
Yeah, no, this was, like I said, this was a collaborative decision based upon, where we're at in the season from a standpoint of Christian's workload and what these next few kind of games and days are going to look like for our team, from a short week to potentially wrapping it up here with 2 straight home games. We thought this was the best decision for Christian in the short term, but at the same time, I think a lot of this can be a projection on a really positive outlook for 2026.
Will Justin School start at left tackle again then?
Kevin, when you're making decisions considering not having the playoffs, how do you weigh, clearly you want to win these games, but also there are guys here that maybe haven't gotten as many reps that you might want to see?
Yeah, I think it, in a lot of ways, whether it's on the defensive side with the news from earlier this week about JG and Josh Metellus, obviously Justin School's played a lot of football. Blake's played a lot of football. We've had Joe Huber's gotten some time in there, in a game we won against the Browns in London. And then obviously we've had, I think, 3 different guys play center throughout the year. So at certain spots, we've kind of already naturally seen it throughout the year, just dealing with some of the injury adversity that you deal with, that every team deals with throughout an NFL season. But I think the key is, in your reference to you making the decision, this is a collaborative thing based upon, each individual player and ultimately what gives us the best chance to win, with the starting point being what's best for each individual player.
Would it be Blake at right?
Yes.
Questions? Just in terms of Jackson Dart, I guess, what have you seen from his ability to make plays outside of structure?
Yeah, I think playmaking is, and really, watching him in the draft, and obviously the conference he played in college, you're watching a lot of the defensive players and offensive players maybe around him at that high level of football in the SEC, but the playmaking has always been there. His ability to use his legs to impact the game, either on design runs and or off schedule plays within the pass game, has always been there. And then I think as the season has gone on, he is flashing on a weekly basis really, really high level throws to be able to generate some explosives as well, and really change the dynamic of games from a standpoint of his playmaking ability being paired with a young player growing, and from a decision-making standpoint, developing his technique and fundamentals, and doing it in live game action, as we've seen here with obviously JJ. He's the growth and development that can take place is the best chance you're going to have for it. But yeah, he's a player we've talked about a lot as a team, and I know Flo and the staff and the players have talked a lot about him as the playmaker that he is. As a defense, we're going to have to play well against him and make sure we don't allow him to easy access to do a lot of those things, because he's proven already he can make those plays.
Have fun. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And there's Kevin O'Connell previewing that game, and of course the big news is that Christian Darrisaw has been moved to injured reserve from day to day, so not great. But let's I want to quick update you, and we're going to take a break. The now then situation that we've been following, the suspect is in custody now, and we'll continue to follow this. But this is I believe still a live look from our chopper of a home in a small residential area in the community of Now Then, which is in Anoka County. Been going since late last night, and told by authorities that there was someone barricading themselves in the home, and it looks like that suspect is in custody now. So let's take a quick break and come back. More All Day Live continues after this. All right, welcome back. Natalie, you want to jump in here and we can talk about this demolition of the bridge in Iowa. Blackhawk Bridge is a controlled implosion that happened today. Do we have that video?
We have the video, if we can take it, Jacob.
People love watching these controlled implosions. So we're watching and we're watching.
There it goes.
Oh, Yeah, so something happened during that stream, and it glitched.
We were watching the live stream. I just want everyone to know this was supposed to happen around 9:30 this morning, and it didn't happen until about 11:15. So for almost 2 hours, we were watching for this, and then it happened, but the live stream glitched, and it was there, and then it was down.
I know, and everybody was just like verbally like, oh, here it comes, what?
I know.
And then we all just kind of went, oh.
And I mean, Amy, there were like 4 people gathered around our desks watching for it.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. I was like, and then you watch the ripples in the water, and you notice, oh, they stopped moving, and then they'd move again. So
I know.
Technology, but I bet in person it was pretty cool. Maybe somebody
thought it was going to be used to this great video. Oh, we got to get this in the show today. I mean, it's pretty cool. So it's this historic bridge on the border of like Iowa and Wisconsin.
Okay,
so,
Lansing, Iowa, and Crawford County, Wisconsin.
Yep.
So yeah, interesting.
They're going to have a nice modern replacement, but we thought it was going to be some epic video.
Yeah, we were so excited. But a story to tell nonetheless.
Yes.
All right, well, we'll take another quick break and come on back with more All Day Live. We'll check some more headlines for you here. We're glad that you're with us. Well, we have been doing the Fox 9 Holiday Card Exchange for 5 years now. You guys have sent us so many great messages over those years. This year, 4,500 cards came in, and we love reading all of them. In fact, we actually sat down, a bunch of us, to read quite a few. So we're going to leave you with this. Have a great rest of your day and your weekend.
Next batch up.
Oh, we get so many of these. We honestly have gotten so many cards.
This one has the Peanuts theme on it right there. Look at that. From Plymouth, Minnesota. Let's see. We enjoy listening to the banter between Ian and the anchors. Meaning us, I guess. Our favorite Christmas movies are Charlie Brown Christmas,
That's
Elf.
good.
What are your favorite holiday movies?
Well, I would put Elf on the list as well.
Rudolph.
And the classics.
Gotta be a Rudolph.
And I like some of the new ones, like Christmas Chronicles, too.
What do you have there?
And Ian he is an instigator. So I will say we get a lot of mentions for Ian and his crazy banter.
This is true.
The Minneapolis Elks Lodge, number 44. These folks send us a lot of nice cards throughout the year, and they did a great job on this one because they put all of our little faces on the Christmas tree. And thanks for putting me at the top.
Let me see that. What they do on us. Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and they resend these homemade cards. So hoping you and yours have a holiday filled with joy and laughter. Again, Minneapolis Elks Lodge, number 44. Thank you so much for sending that in.
And believe it or not, we do get a lot from children. I don't know if they're inspired by their parents watching or if they're watching, but either way, it's great. This one is from Eloise. She says, Merry Christmas, love, Eloise. She's got a lot of artwork on that one. Beautiful. And inside, she writes, Hey, Fox 9 team, I love watching you with my dad.
Oh.
Merry Christmas, love, Eloise, 7 years old.
And this is a great drawing, Eloise. Love the Santa. He's actually looks like he's in shorts, so he might be a Florida Santa. And then passing the present on.
So cute.
Yeah, thanks for watching with your dad.
That would be one of my favorites right there.
We get a lot of the cards with beautiful birds and beautiful red trucks. Have you noticed how many pictures of trucks
the old-time scenes
received?
Yeah.
So this is a card from Monica, and it says, many blessings to you this Christmas season. Fox 9 team, thanks for being so entertaining in the evenings.
What does that mean?
I think that means Ian. It's nice to catch up on the news before I go to bed. Also, I really enjoy the banter between you all. It makes the program more personal. Merry Christmas from Monica. Thank you, Monica.
All right, this one is interesting. This is one of those cards where they put all kinds of pictures on the front. Again, a Peanuts theme.
Peanuts are very popular.
And it reads, I'll just hold it up and read it this way. Hello, we just wanted to share our appreciation for all you do. Your broadcasts keep us informed, comforted, and connected every day, and we genuinely look forward to tuning in. Wishing everyone at Fox 9 a safe, warm, and joyful holiday season. If it's possible, it would mean so much to us to receive a card from both the morning and the evening news. Greg and Jay, and I'm pretty sure that we can accomplish that because I'm pretty sure I got this card and sent 2 of them out.
Yeah, we
Almost
already have a
positive.
couple on the way, and we hope that you've already received it.
Yes.
The personal pictures are great. We kind of just enjoy seeing how you've spent the year and what your family looks like, and the pets too. This one, just cute little doggos in some cowboy boots because Judy here is originally from Texas. And she says, I am a Texan living in Minneapolis where I find Minnesotans warm and friendly, the 10,000 lakes exciting, the autumn colors beautiful, and even the snow enjoyable. I also enjoy Fox 9 Evening News where the team reports, entertains, and explains local events. Do I appreciate Fox 9? You betcha.
You betcha.
That's Judy in Edina, Minneapolis area, a Texas transplant. We're glad to have you, Judy. Thank you for sending that in.
All right, here's one. Mentions a lot of people from Elfrida. It says, good evening, team. Good evening, team. It's, I don't know if she's saying we're a good evening team or it's good evening team.
I think I'll take it as that we're a good evening team.
Thank you for bringing us the news. You're all great. Randy, Ian, Kelsey, Amy, Jennifer, Simone. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication. Be blessed. Merry Christmas to all of you guys and your families. Very nice.
Thank you. Cute snowman card.
Big letters inside. I like that. Maybe not have to use the glasses.
I know. I feel like this handwriting looks a lot like my style too, so I feel like this is Dave and Tracy Ramsden are probably in my age group. Fox 9 Evening News, we love watching your news every night. We find it very entertaining how we can connect with all the people. We love them all. Randy, Kelsey, Amy, Simone, Ian, Jennifer, Sean, Jimmy, and all the reporters, etc. Keep up the great work. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year, Dave and Tracy Ramsden. Thanks for listing
Dave
all
and
those
Tracy.
people in front of the camera and also behind the camera. We have a great crew working in the evenings, and they just do a great job every single day.
Oh, live one. Dog on that one. Very nice. This one is from Jeanette Wilson, and she writes, Fox 9 team, you are my favorite channel for news, and especially Ian's weather reports with his great sense of humor. Best wishes for a wonderful holiday season and a happy, healthy new year. Jeanette. Beautiful.
Ian sends his love as well.
She's a dog fan.
Yeah. You just never know what's going to come out of Ian's mouth, and so it's kind of a little bit like playing volleyball. You know, when he enters the room, you're like, what is he going to say?
Only it were that easy.
Okay, this is a great family picture as well. I love these because you have the family on the front, and then you've got some pictures with the pets on the back.
Let me see the pets.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Some Goldens and Red Retrievers, maybe. And
Irish
2
setters,
corgis.
maybe?
2 little corgis. Yes. So this is from, you're going to tell me because I don't have my reading glasses on, but Mike, MJ, Lexi, Montana,
and Tori.
And Tori.
Puff, Bo, Stormy, and Millie.
Oh. Puff is definitely one of the corgis, I think. And this is from the Millis family.
Yeah, Millis.
The Fox 9 crew, we love the fact that you take the news beyond the delivery of it and invite us into your lives. Marathons and triathlons, dogs, polar plunges, children, making all so real. The evening banter always makes us laugh. Merry Christmas to all of you. Smiley face. Thank you. Thank you.
Similar here from...
And I'd love to just meet you at a dog park with the corgi someday.
There's one from the Anderson family. Straightforward. Just see what they write. Fox 9 staff, enjoy all the magic of the season. Thank you for keeping us connected to local news, sports, and weather. So much we enjoy about Fox 9, from Maury's stories to Ian and Randy's banter. The Anderson family from Waconia, Minnesota.
Oh.
Beautiful.
And we have some more pets here. We've got a couple dogs, some horses.
Oh, I remember this one.
Cats in the middle there, too.
The 2 cat. One is a one-eyed cat, I think.
The Schmidt family.
Pretty sure.
John, Carol, Heidi, Emily, and Critters. Doesn't say anything about one eye, but KMSP Channel 9 is our go-to station for news. Everybody is great. Ian Leonard, Randy Meyer, and Kelsey Carlson are informative and yet fun to watch, and to be a part of our living room.
Let me see that. I want to see if it's the one-eyed cat.
I know it's not a very close shot.
No, it's
I
not
do
a one-eyed
remember
cat.
a one-eyed cat in a picture from last year.
Yeah.
So it could possibly be the same crew.
Yeah.
Pony, horse, great family.
All right, let's see here. Wishing you blessings, a peace, love, and joy. This is from Randy and Linda Lamb. And they write, give our audience a look at that one. They write, we always enjoy your evening broadcast. You project a lot of love and respect for each other. This is important to us.
Aww.
Randy and Linda Lamb.
Randy, most trusted name in America.
It is indeed.
Yep. Okay, Oh Holy Night. Pretty card. On the inside, Fox 9 News evening team. Thank you for spreading joy into our home throughout the year. I truly believe your team are not just coworkers, but really like each other. We do.
We do.
We do.
We do.
We need more of that in today's world.
We love
Blessings
each
for
other.
2026. And this is from John and Debbie. And I can't quite see the last name, but John and Debbie, thank you so much for that card. And we do. We are all good friends at the station.
We talk more off the air than we do on there.
It's a great group, yes. And that
This is the Yunkin family. The Yunkins. There it is. And they write, Merry Christmas to the staff at Fox 9 News. We love all of you. Thanks for the memories, the news, and the weather. Kelsey, Randy, and Ian, you're great. Hope you have an awesome new year. Bruce, Kathy, Jeremy, Jody, Julia, Jada, Jocelyn, Joel, and Joy.
Yeah, Joy.
A lot of J's there. With the Yunkins.
So sweet. Aw.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, and then this is joy as well to the world. A little homemade card. We do get a lot of nice homemade cards in the mix. And they say the whole crew, including the folks behind the cameras. Yes, thank you for a job well done. May the real gifts of Christmas be yours. And that is Judy and George Bunnell, faithful viewers.
Today it'd be John, Sean, and Getty.
Yes.
Behind the cameras.
And Lori.